Welcome back to another episode where I do a series on reading a book. I analyze it and interpret it as a real estate agent. I give you the takeaways so you can implement into your business immediately, and I do the thinking so you don't have to. Today's episode, we are reading and analyzing a book called First, Break All the Rules from Gallup. But first, let's take a sip of coffee. Okay, let's get started. The greatest managers, and in our case, team leaders, broker owners in the world, do not take the conventional wisdom. And instead, actually, they do quite the opposite. So throughout this book, they take this commonly known advice and they say, actually, no, the opposite applies. The whole premise of the book had three main themes. The first one is they break the rules of conventional wisdom. The second one is they do not treat employees, or in our case, I'm going to say agents, the same. They don't treat them the same. They do not try to help agents overcome their weaknesses. And number three, they play favorites. There was a quote that I really liked, and it says, the best in our case, broker owner can do is make each person feel comfortable with who they are. That is how a person will succeed. And just because you have agents on your team that are great, solid agents does not mean they're going to be great, solid managers, team leaders, ops directors. If they're great agents, it doesn't always mean to put them into leadership positions. If you're looking to measure the strength of your workplace, of your agents, of your brokerage, there are 12 questions to ask yourself. Starting with number 1, do your employees and your agents know exactly what is expected of them at work? Now, of course, this is different if you're not, if you don't just have employees, because you can't exactly require stuff of agents. ICA, 1099, we all get that. But in theory, do they know exactly what they're supposed to be doing? What is success? Has that been specifically told to them? Number 2, do they have the right materials and equipment, or really in our case, tools, trainings, the systems, the scripts to do the work correctly? And this is why I think a lot of broker owners are partnering with eXp, because they can leverage off so much of these tools and the technology and the trainings, the scripts. I mean, eXp has 50 to 60 hours of training a week. So they can offload training. They no longer need to take care of training. They can offload all the systems. So now each agent pays a very small amount, $85 a month, instead of you as the broker owner or team leader paying for it, freeing up a lot of broker owners' time to just recruit and continue building the company brand and culture, your team's company brand and culture. For example, we just had a broker owner join and bring her team over, and that's exactly why she did that. She wanted to eliminate all the overhead expenses that comes with a physical office. She partnered with a cloud-based brokerage, which is eXp. And I don't want to make this about eXp specifically, but it's just as I'm analyzing this, it makes sense why people are partnering in such way. Number 3, the agents on your team must have the opportunity to do what they do best every day. If someone is so good at, making YouTube videos, or has a super great social media presence, maybe a really big following, maybe don't make them cold call. Take each person's strengths and ride it. Plus, they probably like that anyway. And the more that agents like what they do, the longer they're going to stick around, and the more they'll realize that you actually care about helping them do what they want to do. Number 4 is, in the last 7 days, have your agents received recognition or praise, especially public, for doing good work that you want them to be doing? Number 5, do they know that you or any other of their supervisors care about them as a person? 6, do they have someone to encourage their development? 7, do their opinions actually matter in your office? Number 8 is, does your mission make them feel important, like they're doing important work? Which relates to number 9, are their peers also committed to doing quality work? Is everyone in the office committed to doing quality work? Number 10 was actually kind of surprising. Do they have a best friend at work? Life is so much better when you have a best friend at work. So if you have 2 besties, do not break them apart. Let them do their thing. They will stick around, and they're going to bring others. 11 is, in the last 6 months, have you or someone in their supervision, their supervisory role, spoken to them about their progress? And lastly, number 12, in the last year, have they had opportunities to grow and learn? All of this is focused in a way way that makes it very obvious that it's not about the pay. People don't leave because of the split. They usually leave because of the culture. The manager, not the pay, is the critical reason as to why people will stick or leave. The team leader, the brokerage owner, they are the key. As a broker owner or a team leader, it is your responsibility to teach them the right skills, to lead them in the right direction, tell them what's wrong, and tell them what you want them to be doing, what they should be doing, knowing that each person is uniquely motivated. So it's up to you to find out their motivation and help them work with their own motivation. This sounds like a lot of work, and guess what? It is. If you want people to stick around, it's going to be a lot of work. And after tens of thousands of managers were interviewed, they found two surprising outcomes. Those managers all agreed that, one, people don't change that much. So essentially, who you are hiring is who you're going to get. And number two, do not waste time trying to put in what was left out. So going back to that list originally, let's start with back to number one, with the agents having to know what is expected of them. With working toward their motivations, ask them from the start, do you want to be a listing agent? Do you want to be a referral only agent? Do you want to be a buyer's agent? Do you want to work with investors? And then whichever one they choose, help them, guide them in the right direction, and tell them which courses to go to, help them side by side as they go on listing appointments, and pretty much guide their path, while also balancing the fact that you cannot teach talent. As much as you may want to turn a mediocre person with mediocre ambition and mediocre skills and, cognitive abilities, you cannot turn that into an A+ performer. A+ performers are A+ wherever they go. It's in them. You cannot teach that. Which leads us to, how do you find talent when you're looking to recruit to make your brokerage even bigger? This part might be difficult because, as you know, as we interview agents from all over, they typically come from different industries. So it's kind of hard to decipher how they're going to react as a real estate agent. And as you know, when you're interviewing agents from other industries, they typically have a very, very narrowed focus, a narrowed expertise, comparing that to a real estate agent where your role is a lot more fluid. As you know, you're a negotiator, you are a scouter, you're door knocking, you have to be a therapist for clients. It's all over the board. You have to be technology savvy. It's a lot more fluid as a real estate agent. And especially as you're interviewing agents and adding them to your crew, especially if you have a small crew, well, actually, whether or not you have a small crew or a big crew, guess who has the least amount of control? It's not the agents, it's the broker owner. They have the least amount of control. They can only guide an agent so much. It's up to the agent to decide, how hard do I want to work today? So that's why it's so important, obviously, as you know, to make sure that you get A+ players, talented players. Do not think that you can teach and pour to help them become an outstanding A+ person. You cannot teach talent. Don't kill the messenger. This is from the book. Because after all, it's up to them to decide how many cold calls to make, how many doors to knock on, how many open houses to do. You can tell them all you want. Hey, I would highly suggest, if you want to be the number one agent in this zip code, that you do XYZ, ABCD, and they can be like, okay, thanks, and do something completely different. So pretty much that leaves you with the only thing that you can do, which is motivate them and support them. Sometimes motivation means you being in the trenches as well, and you still selling homes, which as a broker owner is a lot. It helps significantly when people see, oh wow, the broker owner is earliest one in the office and they've already made 42 phone calls and they've already set 3 appointments and I'm just now walking in. It sets a different pace, but also, are you going to work yourself to death? And no matter how many systems and checklists and automations that you have, every person is different. There's always going to be that human element to it that's going to make each person slightly different. So you can't actually copy and paste each agent as much as you may want to. So as a leader, you either have to tailor each program or each, path of progress for each agent differently, or you just have to make sure that you recruit the right person the first time. Coffee break. I am interrupting myself to ask you a super quick question. Have you ever considered switching brokerages or partnering with eXp Realty? If so, book a call using the link below. That is the best way to guarantee yourself a slot on my calendar. I do these calls every day. I make this channel to help you as an agent, you as a broker owner, you as a team leader. We have a rock star ass crew. I hope that you join us. So if you want more of me, book a call because I really do want to talk to you. All right, let's continue. The next segment of this book talks about client satisfaction. And they broke this up into 4 levels. Level 1 is accuracy. The clients are both going to expect accuracy from the agent, and you are going to be expecting accuracy from your agents as well. So it really doesn't matter how charismatic somebody is all too much, it doesn't matter how funny they are or how pretty they are. If they don't know their market, they don't know their market. It will catch up. So similar to how clients are going to be expecting accurate information and just overall accuracy from your agents also expect accuracy from you. Level 2 is availability. Your agents are going to need you to be available, just like their clients are expecting their agent to be available. Now, of course, this can be helped with setting up client expectations from the beginning, and you to your agents, setting up agent expectations from the beginning. Level 3 is partnership. Your agents want to feel like they are on the same side as you, working with you, linked arms together. And level 4 is the strongest, which is advice. They want to be able to feel like they can learn from you, that you actually truly care about them, because the more that they feel you have developed them, the longer they will stick with you. That's why alumni associations are so strong, because colleges helped form so many people. So as you're teaching your agents and setting meetings, holding meetings, keep those 4 levels in mind. And teach your agents those 4 levels too, because the more that they can learn from this as well and have these 4 principles in the back of their mind, the less likely they are to get sued. Another myth that this book breaks down is the fact that a lot of people in Hollywood portrays that a person overcome their weaknesses. That's always the overall, plot is like, oh, there's a gonna be hero, an underdog that we all want to root, and they just work on their weakness, and all of a sudden, yay, they've overcome it, and happily ever after. But in real life and in business, that is not the case. Why would you want to waste your time working on a weakness when instead you already have a strength, your agents already have a strength, have them double down on their strength. They'll like it, they'll be better at it, they'll do it for longer. This book made the correlation with athletes and sports and how the best coaches don't force players into running certain drills. They take each person and look at their strengths and then make drills based off of those players' strengths. So do the same thing with your agents. Do not force fit your players. Another rule that this book broke down is that great managers, it always talks about, this is what managers do and this is what great managers do. So great managers do not treat others the way they think they should be treated. This book says that golden rule of treat others how you would want to be treated. They say that that's trash. Instead, treat others how they want to be treated. Everyone wants to be treated differently. So why not learn a little bit about your agents? And if they like this type of praise, how about do that type of praise? Even though you like maybe more trophies and that's what makes you feel good, maybe theirs is private. Maybe theirs is a small gift. Maybe theirs is a little bit of time off. Everybody's is so different. So treat others how they want to be treated, not how you want to be treated. And you can do this by implementing an intake survey for any new agents that you're going to be recruiting, or you can just send out a survey right now to all of your agents in case you don't know and straight up ask them, what is the best way for you to receive praise? What do you like to hear from that? Or maybe instead of it being that obvious, which it's going to be obvious anyway, which is not a bad thing, you can ask them, in a previous mentorship where you had a mentor or a leader or a coach, why were they the best leader for you? And how did they give you praise? And what did you like about that? You can also have them fill out a 5 love languages for the workplace. You can also have them fill out a DISC assessment, which is what we do as well, and ask them everything. Do you like written praise? Do you like verbal praise? Do you like it in public? Do you like it in private? Not everybody wants public recognition, believe it or not. And straight up ask them, who would you want to be praised in front of? Who would be your recommended audience? Maybe it's just their family. Maybe it's strangers. Maybe it's at a function. What is the most memorable recognition that you've ever received? That's a great question to ask. And overall, those questions are going to keep your retention high, especially, of course, if you act on it. Don't just ask them. It's actually even worse if you just ask them and say thanks, and then you never do anything with them. Just like how some agents will be like, oh, what's your favorite candy? In their first meeting, and then they never give them that candy, like, why did you even ask? It's almost like worse. Wish you didn't even ask me what my favorite candy was. Another unconventional way of managing, what great managers do is they do not spend the most time with the agents that need the most help. This may sound so, in reverse, but make a list of all of your agents and make a list on the other side of the piece of paper of your most profitable agents. Which agents have made the most money for your company? That should be the order in which you talk to them. And that should be the order in which you spend the most time with. So if your number one agent that is most profitable for your company is, say somebody like Petra, You should be spending the most time with Petra to help them even more. You should not be spending the most time with Harry, who is the lowest producing agent, to help them overcome their weaknesses. So I suggest you do that now, or maybe add it to your calendar to do this later, but make a list, 2 columns, who is everyone in your company right now, who are all of your agents, and in order from most profitable to least, and then add lines. Who are you spending the most time with, or rack and stack them. Right now, chances are you're probably spending the most time with those that need the most help, and it is the least profitable thing to do for the company. Overall, though, in your mind, you should have a top 3 or maybe top 5 agents in your mind that are the most profitable, that if they say, hey, do you got a sec, you should be actually answering their calls. Out of those 2 lists, this book says you should not have any crossover. It should be even. Number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. It's crazy, but hey, this comes from great managers. And they say that this is because if you were to focus the majority of your time at the bottom most part of the poll, I guess, in that case, what you're doing is trying to control. You're trying to say, hey, Harry, you haven't made a single cold call, or you've only made 100 calls and we kind of expect you to do 1,000 calls. Where are you at? At that point, it becomes more of controlling, and you do not want to control. The best broker owners do not micromanage their agents. They don't try to control their outcomes. The highest and best use of your time as a broker owner or a team leader is to turn those top agents into even more of a higher performer. Because if you're spending the majority of your time with the weakest links, the strongest links are going to leave. Another thing that great managers do not abide by is the phrase that no news is good news. That's incorrect. You as the broker owner, you should always be center stage. You should always be paying attention to the productive behaviors of the agents in your crew. Psychologically, what the weakest links of any crew, of any industry do, it's human nature to seek attention, whether that's being a good performer or a bad performer. Some agents, again, we're just talking about agents, some agents will focus on attention because that's human nature, is to seek attention, but they're seeking attention in the wrong way. Pretty much saying, I need help. I can't make a phone call. I can't do this. I can't do that. And therefore you're enabling them by giving them your attention. Or even if it's not you, if it's a team leader or some other supervisor, they are giving them, the weak links, their attention when they shouldn't be, because everyone deserves attention. So you should be paying the most attention to the top producers. Therefore, it changes the behavior of the weak links into realizing, oh, I'm only going to get attention if I actually work. So maybe by not working, I'm not going to get attention. Let me change my behavior. Overall, that goes with do not make average your benchmark. By you paying attention only to the top producers, that will slide the scale up. If the average amount of closings for your office agent-wise is, say, 7 closings a year, that should not be your benchmark. Look at your top talent. Make that the benchmark. Make 20 closings a year, 40 closings a year, 60 closings a year the benchmark. I sold 20 homes my first year in the business while I was still part-time, because I was a full-time active duty Air Force major where I worked in the Office of Special Investigations. I was still traveling. I was still going out of the country, yet I was still selling homes. And then my first year, as I did this full-time, which was my second year as an agent, I closed 44 transactions. I made $200,000 just from being an outbound referral. And that's because the benchmark of 5 pillars wasn't, oh, you can sell 10 homes a year. That wasn't my goal. That never was my goal. My goal is to actually make money. So I joined this crew out of North Carolina originally. Now we're everywhere. Now we're in 3 countries right now, 200 agents strong. And that's how I've been able to make almost $1 million in less than 3 years in GCI $1 million, not net. And that's because of who I virtually surrounded myself with. I realized that I did not find anything like that in person in Tucson with the crew that I absolutely wanted to work with. So I looked virtual. Again, that's why broker owners are joining EXP, because now they can join any crew that they see fit, even if they're not in the US. If they feel more connected to a crew out in Italy or Brazil, they can join that crew. So look for top talent of what you consider top talent and partner with them. And you as a great agent, as a great broker owner, and as a great team leader, this book says you're probably kind of weird. But chances are, they say that those that are so good at one thing rarely are good at everything. Rarely are they well-rounded. Same thing with agents. So instead of trying to force your top producer, who I said was Petra, instead of having Petra be the team leader next, you can't force well-roundedness into somebody, nor should you. You as a leader too, you shouldn't have to overcome your weaknesses. You can just partner with someone who already has your weaknesses as their strengths. Similar to Steve Jobs and what was it, like Wozniak, how the two started Apple in like Steve's garage. Steve was an asshole, but knew business, and Wozniak wanted to give the Apple away for free. It was Wozniak who actually had the computer skills and actually invented the computer. You know, Steve was just the business guy, the marketing guy. This is actually one of the reasons why I left the Office of Special Investigations. One, I didn't want to deploy for 3 more years out of my 10 years remaining. I didn't want to spend 3 of the next 10 years just to make colonel and then retire to get a kind of like measly pension. Like, no, thank you. I can make more money right now and not have to spend 3 years in Africa or the Middle East. I was done with that. I've done my deployments. And typically, in case you don't know, when people join the military, they have a specialty and they do that specialty for a couple of years and then they have to go into leadership positions. Those that are really, really good at specialties or just really enjoy it at their own specialty, they rarely want to become a leader in that position because that takes them out of their sphere, out of their, specialty, similar to agents who are then forced to supervise others that never really wanted to. And so the reason why I left OSI, or the Office of Special Investigations, is because there are 3 main umbrellas: general crimes, felony level, CI or counterintelligence, and fraud. And as an officer in the Air Force in OSI, you bounce back and forth. You spend maybe 2 years doing one, you bounce to the other side of the umbrella, maybe doing 2 years in that, and you never really get full depth of what you're doing. And then you're supposed to become a leader and oversee everything. That's a lot of liability for not enough knowledge on each of those components. It's near impossible. So instead, if I were to redo OSI, it would be choose your track. Which one do you want to do? General crime, CI, or fraud? First of all, you will choose what you want to do. I'm not going to force you to work fraud. If you'd rather work crimes, chances are you'll stay in that position. You'll become an absolute expert and you'll stay. Retention solved. OSI. Because the way that OSI does it, it's like so opposite of how every other industry does it. Like attorneys, you might go in as a little bit of a specialist, or you just choose a route and you stay in that forever. You become hella good at that. Rarely do attorneys go from practicing one type of law to a complete other. Of course it happens, but not that often. As a federal agent for the military, that's exactly what we did every 3 years. I had to learn something else completely. It was a whole new book of regulations. So by staying in one lane, you become a hero. Let's talk about poor performers. A lot of agents, team leaders, broker owners, rather will think, I kind of think that this agent is slipping, but I don't know when to talk to them about it. That poor performer knows they're performing poorly before you do. So by the time you realize it, they've been knowing. There's a lag there. So reach out to them as soon as you realize that. When you reach out to them, say, hey, we need to find you a better position that better fits your natural talents. Where should we move you? Because again, you should not be allowing mediocrity. Now let's talk about hiring. There should be 2 interviews. One is normal about the job, what are you going to do, etc., sell homes. The other one is going to be more of a personality based, specifically looking for talent. So make sure those agents know they're going to be having 2 interviews. One is about, our crew, our culture, whatever. The other one's going to be about talent. And with this talent interview, you're going to look into how they think. You're going to ask open questions without leading. So you would not be asking a question like, how closely do you think agents should be supervised? Because you gave the answer away. They're going to be like, closely. You'd be like, oh, good job, this guy's talents. No, don't ask those type of questions. Make it truly be open-ended. No keywords in there. After you ask a question, just like you do in negotiations, you remain silent. Do not say a peep. If the agent says, actually, can you clarify that question a little bit? Say, push the question back on them and say, interpret it however you originally interpreted it. I'm here just to listen to your answers on how you interpreted the question. However they answer, believe them. This is them telling you how they are. If you're recruiting right now for maybe somebody to teach your agents, you're looking to hire maybe like a sales op or something like that, and you ask them, what's your favorite part about teaching? And they don't actually mention anything about teaching itself, then believe them, no matter how good their first impression was. When you ask a question, and they actually say that this is one of a good question to ask, tell me about a specific time when. I always found those questions like kind of annoying, but I think this book called me out. So when you ask those questions, as annoying as they might be, you get one of 2 answers. So if you're going to ask, tell me about a specific time when you bounced back from adversity, or when you learned, a life lesson, anything like that, anybody is going to respond in one of two ways. One, they're going to respond in generalities. It's not going to be specific. The other way they respond is with specifics. For example, last Tuesday, actually, I learned a lesson that I shouldn't, do XYZ. And this is how I felt, and this is how I responded, and this is what I learned. That's specific. That's great. You don't want to hear, oh, well, adversity, the definition is, and this is how I would. No, that's not specific. That's not giving you them. And there is no right or wrong way to answer this question. The only thing you're looking for in that question is if they answer with specifics, that is going to give you a predictive measure as to how they are as a person, as opposed to the Webster Dictionary of Adversity. If in that question you are saying, back to tell me about a specific time when, if they ask you other clarifying questions, at that point, they don't have a specific answer. So it's not even worth going into, well, what about adversity? Well, what about maybe like a time that you learned that you weren't as smart as others? How about maybe a time when, no, there isn't any of that. They clearly don't have a specific instance that comes to mind. It's okay, move on to the next one. On the screen right now, I have a list of questions, the full list that they suggest that you ask. So take a screenshot and we're moving on. The main purpose of this talent interview is not for you to agree or disagree with them. It's just for you to realize how they think about themselves. And in case you didn't get the full screenshot the first time, here you go again. You're welcome. Now, how they answer question number 5 is going to dictate how often you meet with them. During those meetings, you're going to ask them these 6 questions. Number 1, what actions have you taken? And have them include any rankings, any KPI, any timelines. So that way they're actually tracking and you know that they're watching them track. Number 2, what discoveries have you made? Maybe it's been a result from trainings or shadowing or podcasts or books that they've read on the job with clients, maybe during cold calls, open houses, etc. Number 3, what partnerships have you built? Maybe partnerships with lenders or inspectors, insurance, other vendors. Those 3 questions are going to be discussing what they've done in the past up until now. The next 3 questions are going to be about the future. What is your main focus going to be going forward? What's your primary goal for the next interval or next time you meet? Number 5, what new discoveries are you planning? And what are you hoping to learn the next time that we meet? And lastly, number 6, what new relationships will you build? Maybe with builders or title or etc. Suggest that they write down their answers, maybe put it on the calendars, and that way they have it time blocked for them to meet builders and title, etc. And continue asking those 6 questions at the tempo that they originally suggested. Always ask too, it might not hurt to ask, do you want to continue this tempo or do you want to meet more frequently or less frequently? If this helped you at all, please like this because I actually don't know if this has helped you. And I found this pretty unconventional, which I really, really enjoy. I give this a solid 8 out of 10. If you do not like reading, but you want the interpretation, watch more videos over here. See you there.